The NHL is an aggressive, high-paced environment where players will plaster one another into the boards without giving it a second thought. But when the cheap hits and dirty plays hit a maximum, you'll need a tough, gritty enforcer to go around the ice and straighten the cheap shotters out and teach them a lesson. Despite their great importance in the game of hockey, the role of the enforcer is a dying breed in today's NHL. Today, we will cover the fighters of this generation, why fighting has gone down, and the effects that enforcers have on the game. Now, despite the lack of fighting, this current NHL has a few tough guy enforcer players left. Guys like Ryan Reeves with 86 career fights, Kyle Clifford with 90 career fights, Zach Kassian with 45 career fights, Milan Lucic with 91 career fights, and Nick Delorier with 79 career fights. This group of goons are unofficially known as the last of the enforcers. Those fight totals from current players, though, are not even close to the players of past years. The all-time leaderboard for fights have Domi on top with 339 fights. Dave, more known as Tiger Williams, in second with 325 fights, and Chris Nilan with 316 fights in third. Those totals completely tower over the players of today's game. Now, why are we not seeing more of these fighter-type guys popping up nowadays compared to decades past? Well, due to the nature of the highly skilled and speedy NHL, players are forced to focus on speed and skills to keep a roster spot on an NHL team, instead of trying to be a tough guy. For every Arbor Jacques guy that comes into the league, 10 Tim Stützle type of players show up. This causes an exponential function type of effect on the league. As more skill guys come up, the more skill players are needed to keep up with these players, and the cycle just repeats. And as speed envelops the league, there is not much room for tough, hard-hitting slow guys who are unable to keep up. With the lack of enforcers in the league, the value of these types of players have shot up over the last couple seasons, highlighted by a trade made by the Tampa Bay Lightning to acquire Tanner Giannett, a trade that saw Cal Foote and 5 draft picks, a conditional first, second, third, fourth, and fifth round pick. Now, this trade is an over-exaggeration for the value of a fighter, because realistically, a player like Giannett completes the Lightning, as they have just about everything else. But nonetheless, the basic principle of supply and demand tell us that as these number of enforcers in the league go down, and the amount of small, skill-based players increase, the value of these enforcers go up. Moving on though, what effect will the lack of enforcers have on the NHL? Well, the fact that there are about 5 true enforcers in the league allow these players to really bully the 80% of teams that do not have a real enforcer. These teams that do not have an enforcer rely on a committee of players on their team to protect their young players. But if nobody is able to step up on a team to protect a young guy, that young player will have to learn to stand up for themselves, which could end badly, just like what happened to Svechnikov against Ovechkin. Sometimes though, a young player is not able to stand up for themselves, so players realize they can basically do anything to him, which can completely ruin a prospect's mental game when they make the jump from the juniors to the NHL. Take Jack Hughes for example. Of course, a star player in the game now, but back then, he was a highly touted prospect coming into the league, yet he only put up 7 goals and 14 assists in 61 games during his highly anticipated rookie season. Why was that? Well, when you have a smaller and lankier player like Hughes, it is quite easier to push him around than a bigger guy like Matthews or Draisaitl. And so in his rookie season, he was pushed around, and his team lacked the protective presence that would make him feel safe. Without that presence, that causes a young player to be thrown off his game mentally, not willing to go into corners, second-guessing every play you make out of fear of getting hit, etc. Of course, Now we see that he has gone past his struggles and is now a certified star. But his rookie season is a great example of the importance of having a tough enforcer or goon on your team to not only protect your players, but to strike fear into the younger players on your opposing teams. The presence of an enforcer is especially important in the playoffs, when throwing a young star off his game for only a week can completely swing the odds in your favor. Now, in summary, fighting is becoming very scarce in today's game, and in turn more valuable and very important for the few teams who have one of the few goons left. And with the recent reports coming out about the correlation between brain trauma and CTE, the NHL themselves are trying their best to get away from the dangerous physical side of the game of hockey. I believe the NHL has gone to an acceptable level of fighting, where fights only happen with mutual interest or in response to a dirty play. Fighting will continue to be a necessity for the sport, to keep tensions leveled on both sides. But that is all the time we have for today. I really appreciate the support on these videos so much. I hope you guys consider liking and subscribing, and have a great day.